A severe injury happens in a bustling commercial kitchen. Emergency lights flash against the gates of a stalled industrial plant. When an environment becomes dangerous, the alarms trigger, and a business is forced to shut down, investigators have to answer one immediate question: who actually holds the blame? To understand modern liability, we have to look back at massive early factory floors, like this industrial workspace, which operated with very little oversight. Before the 1970s, the UK tackled safety piecemeal. A 1963 law laid out specific rules for places like this vintage office, covering physical space and minimum temperatures, but it left massive gaps across other hazardous industries. In 1974, the government passed the Health and Safety at Work Act, or HASAWA. It absorbed those earlier fragmented rules into a single legally binding pact between employers and employees. Under this act, workplace safety transitioned from an optional courtesy into a rigid legal requirement. Any breach of these rules now results in immediate physical and financial consequences. The heaviest burden falls on the employer. A multi-million-pound company is required by law to engineer a secure environment long before a worker ever steps foot inside the building. This starts with a risk assessment. The employer has to formally evaluate the building, the machinery, and every individual task to proactively locate and neutralize potential hazards. This diagram illustrates what that assessment looks like in practice. In a commercial kitchen, the employer must maintain strict environmental standards. They have to control hazardous substances in the chemical closet, ensure the deep fryers are properly maintained, and meet minimal requirements for ventilation and temperature. Based on those specific hazards, the employer must equip the workforce. They are legally obligated to provide mandatory safety training and supply appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, like heat-resistant gloves and non-slip shoes. All of this planning has to be formalized. The employer must maintain a written, up-to-date health and safety policy that is accessible to the staff. They also need to install physical safety nets. Appropriate warning signs must be clearly displayed around the floor, and adequate first aid facilities have to be readily available. An employer cannot just react to emergencies. Their legal duty is to actively build and maintain a complete architecture of prevention. But a preventative system falls apart if the people inside it refuse to participate. The law places severe obligations on the workers themselves, right down to the newly hired teenager. Every employee has a duty to take reasonable care of their own safety and to ensure their daily actions do not endanger anyone else. They are mandated to cooperate with their employer. This means they must sit through the assigned safety training, follow operational instructions, and actually wear the protective clothing provided to them. There is a strict legal prohibition against intentionally interfering with or recklessly misusing safety equipment. Taking a fire extinguisher off the wall to play a prank is a direct violation of the act. Workers also have proactive reporting duties. They need to report any faulty machinery immediately, and they must declare any personal illness or injury that might compromise their ability to work safely. Under HASAWA, an employee is not a passive bystander. They are an active, legally liable partner whose negligence can break the entire safety system. To ensure this shared pact is honored, the government relies on the Health and Safety Executive. They carry out random inspections across all industries to enforce these rules. If an inspector finds that a business is failing to comply with the law, the ultimate consequence is immediate, forced closure until deemed safe. Beyond lost business and training expenses, organizations face heavy fines and compensation payouts to injured employees. Furthermore, serious breaches attract intense media scrutiny, resulting in reputational damage that can permanently cripple the brand. The financial impact hits the individual worker, too. If an employee is injured but failed to follow instructions or chose not to wear their provided PPE, any financial compensation paid to them can be legally slashed. The Health and Safety at Work Act of 1974 relies on balance. The employer builds the secure environment, and the employee acts responsibly within it. If either side breaks the chain, they pay a